Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Stranger here and we're starting a new sound design series. And we're opening up the series by a question that I get asked a lot, which is how do you create that 808 drop bass sound? Which is that kind of 808 sound with a pitch envelope that goes downward. You hear it in a lot of old school jungle, drum and bass, and even dubstep tracks. And it is a fairly simple sound to create. However, the fundamental concepts will go a long way to help you to become a very strong sound designer. So we're going to learn how to make this sound with 5 different instruments today on Ableton, starting with the sampler and then Ableton's analog and operator synths. And then we're going to try it with Massive and then Serum. So I'll play you a track so you guys get an idea of the type of sound we're going to create today. And shouts out to my friend Out of Time who sent me a link for this track this week. And it's that low rumbly boom, boom, boom sound that we're after. So we're going to jump right into it, and I'm going to start with a sampler. So I'm going to pull in sampler. And then I have a sine wave that I'm going to load into sampler. And it's just playing one note. It's playing a C. Then we're going to hop over to the pitch envelope section here. And then we're going to enable pitch envelope. Now right now it won't do anything until we increase the amount of the pitch envelope. And a rule of thumb I like to follow is to make it an octave or 2 octaves up. So we're either choosing 12 notes or 24. We'll start with 12 first. Notice we're already getting there. The next step is to adjust the decay of the envelope. So we can adjust the slope of the decay by dragging this little dot here. And that affects how quickly it reaches the regular tone. And then the other step is to adjust the decay length. So if we click on this dot, we can drag it across, or we can increase it by dragging the actual parameter here called decay. Now, depending on the type of drop bass sound you're after, you're going to want to play with the decay. Sometimes we want that longer decay. And you hear that in a lot of old school jungle tracks. And with shorter decays, you'll notice it in newer style tracks. And now we're going to try it at 24 semitones, so that's 2 octaves. And the reason why I follow this rule of thumb is that it keeps everything in tune. So at 2 octaves, you get a stronger attack. It all depends on the sound you're after. Now, you're not limited to this rule. You can go off the octave. It's just up to the sound you want. Okay, fairly simple. So now we're going to jump over to analog. So I'm going to drag it over. And by default, there's 2 oscillators that are activated. We're going to turn off oscillator 2. And then we're going to change the shape to sine because we want that pure rounded bass. However, we're not limited to that. We can try different waveforms, and we will try that towards the end of the lesson. But for now, we're going to stick with the sine wave. So we have a regular note playing here. And then simply, we're going to increase the envelope amount, which is this parameter value here. Or you can drag this point on the envelope. The higher you go, the higher the amount. And then you can drag the time, which is the length of the envelope. Again, you can also drag this point here. Now with analog, you get a percentage amount as the pitch envelope as opposed to a note interval. So use your ear and find the tone that you want. And depending on the amount, you're going to either have to play around and find the right note, and it might be an octave down or an octave up. Okay, so far so good. And now we're going to open up Operator. And by default, Operator only has the first oscillator activated, so don't worry about the other three. And we're going to slide over here to enable the pitch envelope settings. So click here to highlight this section, and then enable this little button here. This turns on the pitch envelope, and then simply adjust the pitch envelope amount. And we can adjust the pitch envelope start point. And just like the sampler, we have a slope and a decay time. Again, based on the envelope amount, you're going to have to find the right octave to play this note. Okay, pretty good. Now we're going to jump over to massive. Again, we're going to find a sine note. So we'll choose this one here. And then we're going to use envelope 2, and we're going to bring this crosshair over to the pitch section. And then the amount we want, let's try 12 first. And then we're going to adjust the level so it reaches the bottom. And then adjust the decay for the decay length. Let's try 24. You notice they each have a slightly different characteristic because each synth has a different algorithm, different calculations. So choose the one that you like the most. And finally, we're going to go into Serum. And again, we're going to go under here and find basic shapes. Choose the sine wave. And then we're going to hop over to the matrix, and we're going to choose envelope 2. And the destination will be the global master tune. We can bring this to 24. And hop over to envelope. Bring the sustain level all the way down to 0. That's the final tone that your envelope will reach. And just like Ableton Sampler, we have a slope. Let's bring this down to 12. Okay, so we talked about using the sine wave, and I said that we're not limited to the sine wave. It's just that the sine wave gives us the most pure sounding bass, but you can try other waveforms. Sometimes the triangle or sawtooth is cool. That gives you a bit of that distorted harmonic sound. So the triangle is a good choice. Square is also good sometimes. Now sometimes with square we want to filter some of that high end, so I'll turn on the filter I'll choose the low pass 24. Bring up the drive. You can even add some distortion to it, so I got decapitator here. So we're gonna draw a few notes, and I have a beat here so we can hear it over a beat. It's always nice to hear everything in context. Make that a bit slower. Okay, that's good. I have a beat here. All right, so that's it. So master the basics of this sound, really try to learn what the basic parameters, which is really just two, is the pitch envelope amount and your decay time, and sometimes the slope of that decay. Those two parameters will give you a lot of control and creativity on how your drop bass will sound, and definitely adjust it accordingly based on what kind of sound you want and what will work with your track. Once you master this, then you're on your way to creating some awesome sounds. As I mentioned before, this is a fundamental concept which will go a long way in helping you become a strong sound designer. So we're going to talk about more advanced forms of this drop bass in future lessons, but for now, really get this down. Also, as a treat for you guys, I've included the project file and the samples in the link below, so make sure you go ahead and download that. And if you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, make sure you like it and subscribe to my channel for future updates. But for now, keep practicing, and we'll see you at the next video.